Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Gym Leader Chat Lounge. Happy belated Easter to anybody watching. We're recording on Easter Sunday. How was your guys' Easter? What's going on with you guys?
Solid intro, man. That was solid. Yeah, I had a good Easter. We traveled around a lot, but the kiddo got to go do a bunch of Easter egg hunts and get a few Easter baskets. So it was good. Saw my wife's family and mine. So had a great tiresome Easter, but it was worth it. So yeah. Ben, how about you?
Very chill. Just cleaned the apartment after a long weekend. I celebrated Passover yesterday with some friends. We had a Passover dinner and some matzo ball soup. Yeah, today was just chill. Tony, great intro.
Thank you.
Excellent work. Maybe John can do next week, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you for permitting me to do the intro.
How was your Easter?
My Easter was pretty good. Woke up early and went over to go meet my sister's boyfriend's family. They were all pretty nice, pretty chill. Then we went straight to my family's Easter dinner and, just hanging around the family all day.
Excellent. Yeah, so I hope you guys watching all had a great weekend. We're back to our normal schedule after the extra episode, bonus episode last week for the 3K, going over the top 8 decks. Tonight on the podcast, or this morning, I should say, this afternoon, whenever you listen to it, I don't know. Today, we're going to be going over our full group league from last week, of course, and then we are going to cover some of our favorite deck lists from the 3K outside of the top 8. Natalie at Full Grip was kind enough to share all the deck lists. We took a look at some of our favorites, and based on your recommendations as well, we're going to highlight a bunch of those here so you can see just what people were cooking for the 3K. So that'll be fun to discuss later on. But yeah, let's just jump right into Full Grip League. We've had a lot of weeks of really long podcast episodes. They just get longer and longer. Maybe today will be a little bit shorter. Who knows?
Today's going to be a chill one for sure.
Yeah. This is our top 8 from Full Grip last week. It was week 34, 19 players, and it was a Dwixty sweep in top 4. We had Dylan, Tyler, and Ben, who all played the Dwixty. And I believe, Andrew has not still fully announced the date that Dimension Valley is going to get banned. But if this was the final week of Dimension Valley, it's goodbye Dwixty, because as far as Dylan says, the Dwixty is dead as soon as Dimension Valley is gone. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I don't think so. I mean, at least in my mind, I saw, we'll talk about his perspective on the deck and where it's headed here in a little bit, but Dimension Valley is a hit to almost all psychic decks, especially, the Dwixty, only running the Malamar and kind of being a little bit more reliant on it, but there's no reason you can't just put Zatu in there and find space for it and keep chugging along. So, if Dylan feels that way about it, that's fine. He's got his badge with it anyway, so he can just he's got time to cook until the Invitational if he wants to play it. And I hope he perseveres and finds a way and can. I think the deck will still continue to thrive and be a good pick.
I think the Dwixty as we know it is dead. I think once you go adding the Zatu in there, and it's just not the Dwixty anymore. The Dwixty has a few things that make it unique. It's the solo energy accelerator, the Dusknor, and the Gallade. So once you change one of those things, it's like you're just making any old psychic deck after that.
It's Dwixty 1.0. Dylan's going to cook up a new psychic brew, and it's going to be Dwixty 2.0, new and improved.
Listen, I don't even think Dylan wants to look at psychic cards ever again. He's been sweating for the psychic badge for so long, and how fitting that in what is presumably our last week of D Valley, he gets it. Very deserving, honestly. He cooked this deck, and I don't know how many badges. I know I won my badge with the Dwixty.
Oh, two badges.
Dylan got top 4 with it, so this deck has made money.
This deck has
So-
made some money. Me and Tony both played it at the 3K alongside Dylan and Peacock. And Tyler, shout out Tyler, loves his name mentioned on the pod. So
CP10.
Tyler Price, top four, not fourth place, top four, second place at League this week. Tyler Price, I'm saying the name, Tyler Price.
Orlando
Tyler
Regional
Price.
K2.
Only thing we're missing is a Badoo right now, and it'd be a perfect
What's in
Tyler
Badoo?
Price episode.
Tyler Price on Dylan Ryan's Dwixty. Yeah. Is this the second time Tyler's played Psychic and the second time he's gotten top four?
That sounds like a verifiable statistic.
Could be. He played that one list that was like Dragapult, and I don't think he made top four with
Okay.
that. I think
Yep.
So, yeah, it was one
This
he
is
did
probably
not.
his second time playing the
That did not
Dwixty.
perform nearly as well as it does in standard.
Yes. Second time playing the Dwixty. That's true. Well, he did. I mean, okay. I guess the Dragapult list is not the Dwixty, but it's got Dusknoir in it. But yeah, Tyler.
That ain't no Dwixty.
Tyler's working on the Dwixty 4.0.
That's right.
The
And
Twixty.
who knows? If
The
Tyler had
Dwixty.
played GLC at the 3K, he probably would have won the event with Dwixty. We'll say that.
Probably.
Surely that's verifiable.
But Kai, the 4-1 king, bro. The 4-1 king. He's
Death
been to
Taxes
League.
and Kai at 4-1.
He's been to League 4 times this season, and he's been 4-1 every single time.
Listen, there's nothing scarier because I paired into Kai last round this week than going against Kai last round when he is 3-1. You know that's not going to turn out well for you.
Just back it up right there.
I think
Yeah.
we were making the joke at the end of League on Thursday, and we were like, all right, we're handing Kai a fairy deck next week to see if the 4-1, if this is like a legitimate curse.
Yeah, we got to test the
Or a
limits
blessing.
of this gift of his.
Yeah, when they talk about gym leader challenge, Kai is the gym leader they're talking about. Yeah, so Kai played in the lone fighting deck in a sea of Dwixty. I believe it was RDT. I wrote RDT, but it was RDT, right? Or did he?
I don't
No, it wasn't. He
Um,
played.
No,
He played.
wasn't.
no.
It wasn't.
It was Barbarical.
I'm gonna correct this slide real quick. He did play Barbarical with Hariyama. I think it was like a version of the top 4 list, Gauge list.
Yeah, I think so.
He had I think he had the dinosaur in it. Yeah, because I played against him and he discarded both, so he had the dino in there
Okay.
Did he? Wow.
along with Hariyama. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was like he kept saying he's like throwing away pieces. He's like, I'm not getting the dino out this game because he was he was whooping my butt at that point in the game. So
Nice.
yeah, he had a lot in there.
Kai. He tried to screw with me at the beginning of the night. He walked up to me with an Ends Roserade, which is a grass type Pokemon. That's good in
Roserade.
Cynthia's Garchomp in standard, right? But it doesn't do anything in GLC. But he walked up to me with Ends Roserade and he's like, I'm playing a bad deck tonight. Like, I'm not gonna go 4-1 again. And I was like, I believed him. I'm like, I'm sure you cooked up something crazy with Ends Roserade, and I'm sure that you're gonna go 4-1. But he played fighting, so he's a funny guy. Then I mean, at the rest of the top 8, we've got Hunter on Hydro Pump, Jacob on the Dwagons, and then the two of you, both on the Arch Nemesis Metal deck.
Wait,
And
what
then-
places are we?
You guys are 6, 7.
6, 7.
Tony 6th, John 7th, and then me at 9th at 3-2. So Ben Peacock at 4th place with 3-2, and I'm at 9th place 3-2. A little Ben sandwich of 3-2. The world is cruel, to put me all the way down there. I'll say that. We all went 3-2, so congrats! Round of snaps for all of us. Yay!
No, we actually can't. We can't celebrate 3-2, man. We're horrible.
Oh man, one of us is badging next week. I heard in the script.
My God, please.
We're gonna have to cancel the
Please, bro.
podcast.
The content's running dry.
The 3K's over. The content's dry. We need a
Right,
badge.
We need the badge.
Something.
We need like a
Something.
streak of like 3 weeks in a row where we each get one. Like
It's coming. It's coming.
it is.
All right, here we got Dylan's Dwixty. Rest in peace. His psychic list that he just got his second badge of the season with. He already had one badge from very early on with colorless control. But yeah, this is the Dwixty as it stands. The blank card at the top right is the Dimension Valley. He preemptively pinned it on the board as a farewell salute tradition that we have at Full Grip. But yeah, got the Gallade, the Dusknor, and then, just all the good stuff. We talked about the list a good amount last week, as it was what me and Tony played to the 3K. Yeah, it's just, the fact that it did so well tonight, obviously our Full Grip League is not the 3K meta, but it's still such a strong deck. Like it's it's like Wobbuffet is so oppressive for so many other types, and then you combine that with a Dusknor Blast and like Parallel City, X Maniac off of Gallade. It's just it's very high powered deck once it gets going. So congrats, Dylan. Yeah, and he had this to say. I just wanted to shout out his Twitter account. You could go follow him at Dweesh7, DWEESH7. Dylan said, I finally got my Psychic Badge. This is surreal to get it on the last possible time for it to be played. This is the official final 60 for the Dwixty. Thank you to Tony, our very own Tony, for believing in the deck and giving it its name, and all the locals who gave it a chance and enjoyed playing it. So just a quick 2-second moment of silence for the Dwixty. You'll be missed.
Thank you, Dimension Valley.
But yeah, any comments from you guys on the Dwixty? We feel like we've said a lot about it in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I never really had the pleasure of playing it, so I'm unfortunately not one of those locals that got to enjoy playing it in its purest, truest form here. So definitely a missed opportunity for myself. Sad to see it go, though. Sad that I'll never have that chance to try it. So yeah, but you guys, I know you and Dylan were talking about this. I heard you at League like the weeks before talking about like the final changes to the Dwixty. I think like what were kind of like the last couple of cards, because I know he was talking about like a scoop up net, something of that sort. So can you give us a little insight of like what was like the final cards, the final changes on the Dwixty before its final hour?
So when we played it at our other league the Tuesday before the 3K, I played a version of the Dwixty that was very close. It was basically this list with one card different, and that was, I had Hisuian Heavy Ball in the list. Dylan was extremely adamant that that could not be the correct card to put in the list, and I was like, he's like, it has to be Scoop Up Net. Like you can't beat the Natu deck without Scoop. Like it's just so nice to have, so good to as an extra pivot and to heal some damage off the board, get Mew off the field before like a Blacephalon turn, things like that. And I was like, okay, it doesn't have to be Hisuian Heavy Ball, but I'm like, I do not think it needs to be Scoop Up Net. I think you have plenty of play into the Natu deck, and if you are relying on Scoop Up Net, then to save you, you're probably in a bad position anyways, but you have so many plays to put you into a good position, and you have ways to skip the Blacephalon turn with the Dusknor, that I was just like, this was mostly just theory in my head because I hadn't played a ton of games into it. I was like, obviously Scoop Up Net can be helpful, but I just feel like it's not, like, you have a lot of switches still. You have Floatstone, U-Turn Board, Guzma, send Caitlyn in Versus Seeker for Guzma, Mystery Energy. Like, you have a lot of ways to pivot. And so I was like, I don't think you need an extra switch card, really. You can parallel yourself if you want to get somebody off the board. You can, like I said, use Dusknor to skip the Blacephalon turn. Like, you have a lot of... You can also avoid putting Mew in play entirely for a lot of matches where you Guzma Hala and get Telepath and Beach to fill your hand. Like, you don't have to go for Mew that early. So we were arguing a ton about this. He's like, I feel like you really need the Scuba Net. Like, you just really need it. And then, yeah, by the time like Thursday and the 3K came around, he's like, okay, I don't think it needs to be Scuba Net, but it's like 100%. He's like, I refuse to play Hisuian Heavy Ball. And I was like, all right, that's fine. Like we can play a consistency card like Evo Incense or Pokegear, and we ended up deciding on Pokegear, just like to really help with the early turns. I still think Hisuian Heavy Ball is like a good card. Like I'm never unhappy to see Heavy Ball. Like I don't understand the disdain for Heavy Ball, but Pokegear was nice. So, but yeah, you don't really need Heavy Ball because you have Town Map and you have a lot of basic attackers who can get into play pretty efficiently. So, yeah, it was fine.
Sick.
It's really interesting to hear like that conversation that you had with Dylan because I was like I was before the 3K I was in like my own head about what I was even gonna play, but I was still like kind of working on this list with Dylan a little bit, like specifically on that Tuesday. And something that I wanted, like, what's really important to me was like I wanted cards that you wanted to see going first, like specifically cards that would make your games going first better. So I was pretty pro Scoop Up Net just because that's like another way that you can get into the Mew. Scoop Up Net and Trainer's Mail were my two cards, and I was like, we kept going back and forth about this argument about like the mobility card. Like you kind of want, you have, your retreat tools and your Guzma, but you kind of want like an extra mobility card. And for me, the old versions of the deck always had Birdkeeper, and I love playing Birdkeeper because that was a Gallade searchable pivot card. Um, so something that I was like trying to hammer home was like get as many good cards into the deck that you want to see if you have to go first. And the ones that come to mind were Scoopnet and Trainer's Mail. But neither of those came to fruition, unfortunately. But I'm still happy with the list that was landed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we decided on Pokegear because it's, searchable off Mew, can help with those turn ones as well. Obviously better going second because you're finding a supporter, but yeah, just an extra hit off of Mew that could put you into the game. Because I feel like Scoop Up Net, I mean, I guess Scoop Up Net is good to pivot into Mew turn one, but outside of that niche situation, it's not really one that really is getting you into the game. As much as something else might, but I do like that play. Yeah, Trainer's Mail.
Yeah, giving Mew a chance to find a supporter is like really strong. Like there's sometimes there's like the hand's dead, you don't have a supporter to play, and the chance that you could hit Pokegear to have a chance to hit a supporter is just like enough sometimes.
Yeah.
I think my main argument was like we had Tag Call in the deck. So I was like, Tag Call is kind of like the Pokegear. Because if you're using Pokegear to like the maximum value, it's probably finding you a supporter that gets you into the game on turn 2. So I was like, we have Tag Call in that slot, so just make that slot a Trainer's Mail, which is better going first.
I
I'm
completely
just trying to
disagree.
use facts and logic, bro.
I completely disagree. I'd rather have 2 outs to tag. Like if Tag Calls one of the
that's what I'm
outs,
thinking.
I want a second out to Goose Hala because that's like the most broken turn 1 supporter ever. When you have Telepath Energy and Beach, it's like that's all you want to do. It's like
Right, bro. Money match.
Trainer's
Best
Mail.
of 7.
Trainer's Mail does not give you enough cards.
Money match, best of 7. I got Trainer's Mail. You got Pokegear. Let's run it.
This is a dead deck. Why are we spending so much time on it, bro?
I was just curious about the final moments of the deck. It feels like we're having a funeral for
John
this
asked
thing.
a question
I just
and it
wanted
got me
to.
yapping.
Yeah. R.I.P. the Dwixty as we know it. We'll move on. We'll talk about surely Dwixty 2.0 at some point, but we'll put it to rest.
This is a deck with new life. The metal deck, the arch nemesis. Andrew finally posted his video. If you haven't watched it, go to Tricky Jim's channel. Watch Andrew's video on how he demolished our league with the deck. Really great video. And yeah, Andrew very kindly shouted us out as well. So thank you if you're watching because you came from Andrew's video. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We love Gym Leader Challenge. But yeah, John and Tony, you both played it this week. But yeah, let's start with John. 3-2 finish. How'd the week go?
It was good. It was a fun deck to play on the weekend, and I just really wanted to keep playing it, get more games in with it. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of games leading up to the weekend, so really just still having fun playing this deck, figuring it out. So why not play it to League this week? So as someone mentioned, I saw a comment that this isn't the exact same list that Andrew played that he dubbed or deemed uh, the arch nemesis deck. One change that both Alex Carpenter and I made was just the Crystal Cave over the Mallow and Lana, for just like a little bit better matchup into like RDT and the Psychic spreading those damage counters around versus trying to have the benefit of having a pivot with the Mallow and Lana and healing damage off of just one guy. So that's like the one minor detail. And then the unintentional change that I made to this list this week, you'll see I have 11 energies in this list. Counting up the cards, as I do sometimes before starting League Night, realizing I only had 59 cards in the deck just immediately before round one. So I had really no time to figure out what it was. And so it doesn't hurt in a Metal Maker deck, especially to just throw another energy in there. I checked all my Pokemon were there, all the supporters were there. I was like, okay, that's probably good enough to go. There isn't anything crucial missing. Ended up being, I'll give you guys a couple seconds to see if you might be able to figure out what it is. It is the Ordinary Rod. Just missing a recovery piece this week over the energy. So I borrowed an energy from Thad. Shout out Thad for loaning me an energy. It was a different style of energy. So I kind of noted when I was able to Metal Maker and hit that one. And I actually benefited once or twice hitting that specific energy off of a Metal Maker. So that was pretty cool. An unintentional change to the list. It only really came up once as an issue. Just an opening hand that I really couldn't research because I had Night Stretcher in it. I knew I only had one other recovery in the deck. So it was fine. It didn't really come up too much. But yeah, just wanted to run this list again. I'll talk about my run in just a quick badge bust and beyond moments. I let's see, my one of my busts I'll talk about was against our very own Tony here. Played against Tony round two, and I had the unfortunate issue of prizing my Arcalodon in the mirror. Um, did I also prize the Rev of Room in that matchup, or was it just the Arcalodon?
No, I don't. I boss KO'd the Varoom.
Yeah, you bossed up the Varooms. That's why it was an option. But I ended up getting the Varoom back. And powered it up. And so the Rev of Room does 90 plus 90 more on a coin flip if you hit heads. And I was in a position where I had that set up, hopefully trying to KO Tony's Arcalodon in the active because it's one of the only things that can KO it in the deck because it's not a basic. And I had my Duraludon on the bench with my Arcalodon still prized with like 3 prize cards left. So a 1 in 2 chance, 50-50 chance of hitting heads and taking the knockout, and then a 1 in 3 chance of taking the Arcalodon to kind of sweep from there off the prizes. And just hopes were crushed when I flipped tails on that. And
We didn't we
uh,
look to see after, and you would have taken
I
the
think
you would
yeah,
have taken the
I looked at the
Arcaludon.
prizes real quick because I couldn't remember. I think I would have taken that as the prize too to
Yeah,
possibly be able to
it
sweep.
would
I
have
think
came down
Tony.
to I would have had to flip my own Rev of Room, I think.
Yeah, the mirror is really interesting and gets really difficult, especially when you prize either one of Arcalodon or Rev of Room, because it's kind of crazy how like it really does come down to a coin flip because you're probably going to need to attack with the Rev of Room at some point in the mirror. So that was definitely a big bust, kind of out of my control, but it was a moment I was hopeful to flip aheads and couldn't. So um, and then I'll say my badge moment this week was definitely playing against Hunter in round 4. He was playing a Hydro Pump list that I was pretty familiar with because when we were when I was making decks to test against for the 3K, I looked up and actually built his exact Hydro Pump list, so I knew most of the cards in it, and I was losing pretty badly. And but I got to a point where I noticed, okay, I'm pretty much going to lose this. I'm not going to be able to take all of the prizes. But as Andrew mentioned in his video, this is a little bit more of a control-y deck that you have the Boss Guzma, the Counter Catcher, and the Lusamine to get them all back, and the Cynthia and Caitlin. So you really have a lot of gust. And the Hydro Pump deck does not have a lot of switch. I noticed pretty early that Hunter had used his Cynthia or his Tate and Liza for a shuffle draw. His Versus Seeker was down, Scoop Up Net, and the Guzma was down already. So just pretty much completely out of non-retreat switch options, and was able to just start gusting up things that had to retreat And then when he attached an energy to one of them, I would just gust up something else that had 2 retreat until he was completely out of energy. Hunter hoping to kind of play the game out, taking legal actions to just shuffle his cards into his deck. But we were pretty early in the round still at this point. So I reached a point where I was magnetic lifting to just like make sure I had my gust cards back in my hand. But then I was announcing pass as I drew my card for turn because I thought my win condition was just making sure that we completed the game. And so it was really cool to just identify that win con early. Hunter, unfortunately, just using too many of his resources and winning the game there. So that was a pretty sick bad moment
Yeah,
that I was
that's
pretty proud
hype.
of.
That is hype.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Those are the two kind of highlights of the week. So yeah, mirror is tough, and it can be this deck. Look for your outs. It can be really be used as a control archetype if you're aware of your opponent's resources.
Right. How about Beyond?
Oh yeah, we got a beyond. I I think I talked about it already,
You made the
but
segment.
yeah, I know.
Bro, you
I
My
already
brother
forgot.
in
I guess I didn't think about Beyond too much. I think I will mention though that I think I brought this up before with other versions of the metal list. The new Klefki that's coming out. I tried it playing against the week before. I wanted for us to test out a few different variations of the list and at League the week before, or then the few days before the 3K. And so I wanted to try a version with Klefki in it because I thought it could be good. Didn't really come up too much in my matchups that night, but I think it's really, like I said, I was having a really tough time beating Hunter or having a chance into Hunter with the Hydro Pump list. I think that card might be really important to beat a deck like Hydro Pump that um, doesn't really have a lot of switch options, but has guys that just have one attack they can use. So you're kind of forced. You're really leaning into that control style of the deck and like shutting off. So the Kyogre can't attack, the Whaler can't attack, and they have to use those switches, and you can kind of just stall them out. So even though I lucked into that being a win con, I could see using the Klefki in decks like that to like force that to be a win con for you, really exhausting your opponent resources intentionally. So I mentioned the card we were switching around was the Crystal Cave and over like the Mallow and Lana. I don't necessarily think, especially at this point in the season, the decks that I'm seeing that the healing and the switching is like as important. And so I could see kind of slotting a Klefki into that spot, just because like it's against the decks we're seeing. Like Dimension Valley is going to be banned, so I don't expect much like Psychic Spread stuff. The RDT lists are kind of moving away from using like the Tinglu and stuff in favor of the things we've been talking about with those. So yeah, anyway, that's a lot to say, but I'd really just like to maybe try the Klefki in there again, give it a few more games with it.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, deck for the meta. Smart to do. Yeah. All right. Nice. Tony, a little different list. Also forgot a
Yeah.
card.
I forgot a couple actually. So funny story. For GLC League, I was going into my GLC box of staples, and over the 3K weekend, I was building decks, unsleeving decks, sleeving them back up. I had this sleeved up on Friday night, and then Saturday night unsleeved it and built the Psychic deck, the Dwixty. So in my box, my Psychic cards and my Metal cards were directly next to each other. And when I was sleeving up before Thursday, I made sure my deck had 60 cards, but I didn't actually check. I made sure everything was like, following the actual rules of the format. Um, but in my list, I had -1 energy, +1 recovery card. I played a rescue stretcher, so me and John have a little bit of
Yeah, Tony and I were two sides of the same coin this week.
yeah, John was missing a recovery card. I had an extra one. John had extra energy. I was missing an energy. Um, and then I actually wasn't playing Crystal Cave. I played Mallow and Lana, and I played an extra draw supporter N. None of this was intentional. I assumed that I was just building the list that was played to the 3K. Um, but yeah, I played with this definitely unoptimal list. But I went 3-2, and I actually played. I was against Dylan at table 1 on round 5, so I potentially had. I don't know, not to brag, not to brag or anything. So I had the potential to burst Dylan's bubble. However, that game went so poorly. And continuing on with that, I'm gonna get into my badge bust and beyond. I'm gonna start with bust right away. This deck, man, it's kind of miserable to play. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out Andrew, shout out Tricky Jim. You cooked with the list. It's sick. Man, this deck feels like you're carrying around 1,000 tons of bricks sometimes, though, and you're just waiting to get bailed out by your Jirachi that you know is going to get knocked out next turn. When the deck works, when you draw fine, you have a good opening hand, it's sick. But that was maybe 1 out of 5 games that I played tonight, and I felt like I had to work so hard to get the Arcala on lock, and then once you get the lock, the game's easy. The game's so easy. But getting to the point that I'm looking at my hand in multiple games, and I'm like, yeah, if I don't top deck a supporter, my game against John, I was like, if I don't top deck a draw supporter here, I'm screwed. And I top deck and it's a Lily, and I'm like, I get to play the game, and then I have to pray that hand is just 1% better than the hand that I'm already holding. So the deck is definitely a sluggish deck. It's sick. It's a great call. But I felt like after the night was over, I wanted +5 draw cards. I want a Colress. I want Erica's Hospitality, these fringe draw support cards that you see in 1 out of every 20 GLC decks nowadays.
Yeah, mind you were already playing an extra in the end.
I was
than,
playing an
the
extra.
normal decks are than the standard list is. So and I think Andrew even mentioned in his video the control-y cards, like he mentioned the Lucamine and stuff. These are cards he saw benefit in, but he even mentioned yeah, you might just want a few extra draw cards to get into the game with, because like you said, it becomes easy once the Arcaladon gets set up. It's just getting there.
They're such absurd power cards. Once you're actually set up in the game, it makes cutting them so hard, because I definitely played my first round against Psychic. I played against Psychic, and it went about as good as it could. It went about as good as it could go. I had a decent starting hand. Deck drew fine. And I was utilizing the Sinlin and the Counter Catcher, the Lost City. So playing games like that, it makes changing the deck so hard, because it is built really, really well, obviously. So it makes me feel kind of dumb that I'm having the issues with the deck. But I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes.
I mean, that's just metal as a type, kind of. You need a lot. You need to set up a lot before you're really doing a lot of powerful things. Compared to most types. But looking at your supporter lineup here, you have 7 supporters that draw cards, which I would say is more than most GLC decks play.
I know, but man, it's it doesn't feel like enough somehow. It does not feel like enough.
The hands that you don't have them just feel so much worse than other types.
Because a lot of your other you play 4 separate evolution search cards, and it's those don't do me any good if I don't actually open my basics or way to find the basics. So it felt pretty clunky throughout the night. But a lot of games where it did feel clunky, I found a way to win.
Yeah, you still have the power factor. It's fine. You can go back a couple prizes. You have a lot of comeback potential. You just need to hang on for those few turns where you're the early game. The early game is definitely the weakest part of the deck, for sure.
These consistency issues that, it points even more to the fact that the Bronzor and the Beldam with the magnetic lift and the mirror draw, the unsung heroes of the deck. They're 2 retreat guy. Well, the Bronzor's 1, but he's 60 HP, and the Bronzor's 2 retreat. But it's just you just need to see cards to get into the game.
I got in there multiple times with those guys.
Yeah, they're cracked.
And going on what you were saying a couple seconds ago, Ben, about how you can go behind prizes, that gets me right into my badge moment, where I played against Eggmill, and I
Terraplume, bro.
Terraplume, sorry. Played against Terraplume. And I had those hands, and I was like, just not drawing any basics, not drawing any way to find basics, and I'm item locked by the Badoo. So I kind of had to like sit there and wait for my. I played against Chase. I had to wait for Chase to kind of build like this insane board, and he ends up going in with Torterra with a Lux Cape, and then like it was like a snap. Like right when he started doing that, it was like my deck actually wanted to function, and I could use items and get set up, and I ended up making like a 5-2 or a 5-3 sort of like comeback because I just got to like sit and build my hand until I could go like Hex, so I could play items, Field Blower, the Luxcape off the Torterra, Retaliate, knock it out. And then after that, the grass resistance just like kind of carries you. Like as long as they don't have like Surge, Lanazade, Raihan in hand with the Forest in play, like they're not going to be able to reestablish the Torterra, and you're going to put pressure on immediately. Like playing a game like that makes me feel like a fool for wanting to change any card in the deck. It's like because you can make those absurd comebacks, and granted, that is probably a pretty good matchup because you have such a strong like resistance. And that deck's hard damage capped if you knock out the Torterra.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I would say the
Man.
matchup's probably not great, and once Chase learns the matchup better, you're probably cooked, bro.
I probably am cooked, yeah.
As soon as you bench
No,
any
bro.
of your non-attacking heavy retreat guys, like Executor, Tool Jammer kind of just farms you.
Yeah. Chase prized his Deerling, so he never got to actually draw cards. And that +1 draw means a lot.
That stacks up because you're
It
drawing like
actually
20
means
cards
a
over the
lot.
course of the game, if not more.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So-
not to take away from your badge moment, bro.
No.
Sorry.
You could take away from it because yeah, it definitely like I thought I was screwed. So it definitely probably isn't great if the lock could actually be set up. Obviously, that's what the deck does.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
the hex getting you in there, that's a good play. So
I mean, I played in my house, bro.
yeah, no, you
Gotta do what you
got
gotta
there,
do.
bro. You got there.
Part of the cards.
Nice. All right. Any beyond for
All
you?
right.
Is your beyond dropping the deck?
I don't think my beyond is dropping the deck. When the deck worked, it was very, very enjoyable to play. But that felt probably about 50% of the time. I spent 50% of the night in absolute anguish that I felt like I couldn't do anything, and the other 50% I felt like this was the greatest pile of cards I've ever held. So going beyond, I just like maybe try to like refine the list. Like, refine is definitely not the right word. Like, change it to how I would like it. Like, I definitely want to keep the N in after playing the deck. It's a card that's not usually in the deck, but like having an extra draw supporter definitely felt pretty good. It also is just like another disruption card. Like a disruption card is almost always good. And I'm definitely going to try to actually have the optimal 60 built if I play it next Thursday. I will have the optimal list built
That's a
for
good idea.
next time I play this deck at League.
That's a good idea. Well, nicely done to both of you. Let me talk about my Diggersby, though.
The bunny.
The bunny, bro. The Diggersby, though. I made a lot of changes this week compared to my list from the week before. I took the Cinchino out, put Thumping Snorlax back in as an additional attacker. I added Crisis Punch again just to get a potential late game play, boost the power of the deck a little bit, the comeback factor, and in doing so, I needed Special Charge to put the double turbo back in to make the Crisis Punch play more feasible. And then I also added the Mountain Ring Stadium, which prevents damage done to your benched Pokemon from your Diggersby attack. So allowing you to prevent usually it's Skwovet, prevent your Skwovet from getting knocked out on a turn on a consecutive turn you want to attack with Diggersby, which does happen quite a bit. Yeah, the deck is so fun to me. I have a lot of beyond to talk about for what I'm gonna do with the deck next, because I don't think I'm settled on this 60. But yeah, I went 3-2. my 2 losses were to 2 Dwixty decks in the top 4. That's just like a really tough matchup. I lost the coin flip on both of those, and my opponent both times had early Wobbuffets, and I think I believe I whiffed Fan Rotom on. No, I think I used Fan Rotom in one of them against Tyler, and I was in that game for a lot of it, but like mid to late game, like a parallel Dusknoir play just like really destroyed my board, and I had like my Diggersby and my like Hops Cramorant were like 2 of my last prizes, which are like 2 of the best attackers I
The
like,
most
most
efficient
efficient
attackers you
and
got.
like best attackers into Psychic specifically, to make those like attacks possible. So when I'm being like disrupted so much, ability locked, and needing like extra energy attachments because my my attackers now are Hop, Snorlax, and Snorlax. Just had to find like too many pieces to overcome in those matches. So my bust moment was definitely like how frustrating it felt to lose the coin flip in those matches. Like especially against Peacock, like the match. I don't know if I would have won necessarily, but in that match I went first and I just attached past with Snorlax in the active, but I had a ton of supporters in my hand. And that match I think is like just completely different if I, am able to play those supporters, if I win the coin flip, and can get like Fan Rotom going and evolutions attaching to people I want to and things like that. So kind of unfortunate to feels bad moment that way, but other than that, I mean, like I don't have a specific badge moment, but other than like I just feel like the deck's really, it's like definitely my favorite way to play colorless right now. I was honestly feeling like if I wanted to play turbo colorless, like Diggersby is probably not the best way to play it. Because I have all these cards in here to like make the Diggersby work. I got Mountain Ring, I've got Picnic Basket. I mean, most of them play Scuba Net anyways, but Scuba Net, another heal card. And I have like Super Rod as well, because I'm playing a bunch of evolutions to recover. So I mean, like that, and plus the Diggersby is a stage 1, so that's 2 more spots. So a lot of deck space devoted to. Then I mean the Crisis Punch as well, which I'm going to get to, but a lot of space devoted to making the Diggersby work and function. And not necessarily, a lot of my games this week, I don't know if I really used much of the combo in most of those games. Like I'd never used Crisis Punch. I never needed to use Picnic Basket to like actually win anything, or like prevent me from losing. And I don't think I used Mountain Ring once to block any damage. But I also did not attack with Diggersby that much this past week, so that's like another reason. It was prized, I think, in like 3 of my games, and I was just able, in the games I won, I was able to kind of like play without needing Diggersby too much. So like I have a lot of room to work with the deck. I don't, even if it's correct to not play Diggersby, I'm gonna keep playing Diggersby because he's sick and he is really powerful, and it's really fun to start Bunnelby sometimes and just start milling your opponent and being like, I'm just like, I'm kind of fine to go behind a prize or like take a couple turns if they're not attacking to just like start milling resources. And I was doing that against Tom, his water deck, and I hit like his Floatstone and like his Scuba Net and like a bunch of switch stuff. He was just kind of sitting there for a little while. So that's also like pretty fun, but yeah, beyond, I think I want to streamline the deck a little more. I think I have a little too many of these like niche tech options. Like I have the Reset Stamp Enhanced Hammer Counter Catcher package. I definitely want to cut Crisis Punch unless I decide to like build more around it. In which case I feel like I would need at least Mela in the deck to have an additional like acceleration supporter. And that would involve changing, the basic energy count and the type of them in general. But I think I'm going to streamline down some of those like later game tech options to improve maybe my early game, like get Battle VIP Pass back in here, and maybe make it so like those games where I do end up going first, I'm not hating my life as much as I am right now. But yeah, the deck's really fun. If you're interested in a Diggersby version of the build, this is like a good place to start. I think it's definitely not definitive, but having a lot of fun with it and excited. I'm rejuvenated. I'm excited to play it again. Except Tony said he was going to play fighting this week, and now I have to switch off to fighting as well. It's like I'm trying to shame Tony into playing Diggersby with me.
So many of the people that have the fighting badge at our league just play it for like 3 weeks and they get their badge. Like it's like it might be like the quickest turnaround badge deck that we have at league.
For sure.
And I'm just like, now that we have new fighting cards to kind of cook with, I was like going like back when RDT was like presumably the best way to play the deck. I just like didn't really jive with playing that deck, so I was like, I'm just gonna wait. I could like probably, you never know what could happen on a GLC night, but like I could probably get my badge with that deck if I just jam it over and over week after week. But I was like, I'm just not gonna have very much fun doing that. So I'm just gonna play other stuff like the Dwagons deck and cook like the interesting water deck that I won with. I'd play this metal deck, this, that, and the other thing. But I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, we're starving for a badge. Like us three in general, to be honest with you. And I think I'm just gonna try to get my fighting badge.
But I'm about to get it with Diggersby, but you take a week off, bro.
I'm not moved.
I'm cooking, bro. It's getting better. Play it with me. You'll like it.
You're asking me to sabotage my... Listen, there's 4 people at 3 badges. Somebody's got to take that leap. I'm taking initiative.
I'm trying to get badge number 3, bro.
Do you want Alex Carpenter to win? Do you want Alex
It's over, man. It's over.
It's not over. It's not over. It's not over.
You guys are all capped at 3 badges.
No, we're not. I just need to get my fighting badge, and then we're good.
Mom, Dad, stop fighting. I have a question. I don't know. I have a comment and I have a question about this deck here. Okay. First of all, comment. Did you intentionally try to get the playmat to line up with the background in this photo?
No, I did not.
That's a question.
Oh my gosh. So it basically does, but I did not try. That'd be so sick.
You could almost get it there. And I guess to our listeners, if you want your deck list when you win with it to be or when you do well with it and need it to be shared to look like this, you could pick up one of these mats too. And Morse makes Etsy store.
Plug.
Little shameless plug there. Shameless plug. All right. And then second, more serious question here. How real? So you mentioned using the Bunnelby early game. I also see you've got like Countercatcher, Boss, Guzma, Hex, E-Hammer, Reset Stamp. Like how real do you think like just like the deck out with Bunnelsby at the end there is? Like you're not necessarily a control deck, but like GLC decks just get low. And I don't know. I think that's a really cool play to make at the end.
It was my out to win against Peacock. It was a long shot. Like he had a good amount of cards in the deck, but I went Countercatcher. He was up. He had 1 prize left. I had 3. So I was not able to like win with a Crisis Punch or anything. And he had a bunch of his energy on board, like spread out. And he was already down his Floatstone and U-turn board. And Guzma, I think. I know he wasn't down Floatstone, but he was down like Guzma and stuff. So I Countercatchered his Malamar and like Reset Stamp him to 1. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna start milling and like, because I knew he had like good cards in his hand, so I was like, I have to Reset Stamp them and hope I hit like the good supporter he can search off of Gallade like with this mill too. And unfortunately, I did not hit what I needed to hit, but it was my win con in that game.
Yeah, this deck, the way you have this deck built right now, it's specifically, it seems like a really real win con with some of these late game comeback cards.
All right. I want to say something about the colorless deck. I think that playing the turbo style is like, I feel like it's dead, to be honest with you.
All right, moving on.
I like, bro, we're missing the doubles. Like ever since the doubles gone, the deck does not feel remotely the same.
The deck is gas. I'm telling you. I'm playing 7 energy cards. I'm playing 7 energy cards.
Because we have the Diggersby.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, man.
Are you just saying like are you saying the Diggersby is like the right direction and like
Yeah,
not like
it's for sure
more
saying like
standard turbo decks are like not the right direction?
it. Like I don't like. Maybe we need to. I don't know. I'm
I just
talking
think
out
it's
of.
really. I just think colorless is like really undercooked right now. Like it feels like. I feel like the double prize, the swallow, the Harambe thing's like really cool, but just like I think there's other ways to build the deck, and I'll glaze Ben here a little bit. He's onto something. He's trying to push the limits of the deck, see what's good in it. I think it just as a type is pretty undercooked right now, and has a lot of room for people to innovate and do cool things with it. Like Ben said in this list, he mentioned there's a ton of changes he wants to make. The deck's got a lot of room. The core of like the Beeburl, Squovit, Oranguru draw engine, and the hop stuff is just like such a nice little skeleton for the deck to work off of. So I mean, I think there's room to build a good, strong, powerful, colorless deck, and we just need more people on it, cooking with it.
Yeah. And I will
So to
say,
get more people on it, I need to get my fighting badge.
okay, don't get your fighting badge. But I will say it's fun and it's like pretty good into our current full grip meta because there's a combined 18 badges between psychic and fighting, and those are hard matchups.
Mhm.
But in the rest of the field, feels fantastic. That's why it's so fun to play right now. So,
Yeah.
Dude, I just know Dylan is gonna be showing up and being a fighting demon for the next 8
oh,
weeks. in a
Dylan doesn't
row.
have his fighting badge. Oh,
No, it might be cooked, bro. We might have to sit on this one
I
for a
might need to
minute.
set this back for a couple weeks and play fighting. But
No, Ben, you're so close. You're the guy that's about to get to the diamonds in the meme. You're about to crack it.
I did beat Thad, who was playing fighting, but he bricked very badly.
That was raging the whole night about his deck.
The whole night. I think he played 2 rounds and left.
for all the time that he was there.
Oh no, he
yeah,
played all the rounds.
I was gonna say he played it.
I was looking
yeah.
at something else. But yeah. Anyways, that's the Diggersby deck. It's fun. I'm excited to keep cooking with it, except for when Tony is going to be playing fighting. Very rude of him.
I just need to get my badge, bro. I just need another badge. I'm hungry.
All right, we've taken enough time talking about our 3 measly weekly decks. So we are going to jump into the Perfect Order 3K deck spotlight section, where, like I said, we've gathered some of our favorite decks from the rest of the field outside of top 8. If you're interested in the top 8 decks, go back to watch our last video. But these are the next decks, very creative, that we wanted to highlight, or the best performing decks of specific types that did not make top 8. We're going to talk about all those and more here tonight. So let's get into them. Again, I also want to mention, like, we're not going to totally deep dive into each of these. I just want to like spotlight them. We will discuss
Just a highlight.
But yeah, just spotlight for you guys to take some inspiration, see what people were cooking with, and see what performed well, or like new ideas out there. So that's it going into it.
Shout out to Natalie.
Shout out to Natalie for providing the list. First one, we're going in order of placement as well. So that's the order I I put them in. And the first deck we're going to highlight is Kevin Baxter's 11th place list. It was the highest placing dragon list at the Full Grip Games 3K for Perfect Order. 5-2, just 1 win short of making top 8. And Kevin is a historic player in Standard. I don't know if there's a regional win, but topped many.
He's just like back in like the XY days. He was a really big innovator. Like he was like one of the higher up names that you could.
Yeah.
Like if Kevin Baxter was on the deck, like it was real.
Yeah.
And there was a good chance that he probably made it.
Yeah, topped a lot of regionals back in those days, pre-limitless. Great player. Getting back into it with the GLC tournament this weekend, and friends with Andrew. I believe that Andrew and him worked on this deck together. Kevin's always just loved Dragon, and was just like, I'm just going to play Dragon no matter what. And this is what the list they ended up on. And honestly, really impressive finish for someone who was just, sticking with their favorite deck, not caring about playing the best deck. But yeah, it's it's an Evo Dragons list as well. So
Shout
very
out
nice.
Dylan again.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not Dylan. This is
I
not
know,
Jet
but
Cruz.
I know. Look at the bones of the list though.
It's not Jet Cruz, bro.
It's got
You
a
look,
different Dragonite, like
look at the
and not
bones. Look at the
and
bones of the list though.
I would say Dylan could look at the bones of
yeah.
old Evo Dragons list. You know, like this
This doesn't have
Nah,
like
nah,
the
nah.
Reshiram and stuff, like the guys you want to be switching in and out of the active. It's different.
It's very
Let me
quite a bit
glaze my
different.
friend for a second, all right?
we heard
You're
you.
welcome to glaze. Just got to glaze where the glaze
And
is due.
we tell the truth on the podcast, bro.
Whatever.
Sorry,
You're
Dylan.
just mad
We
playing
glazed
fighting
Dylan
next
enough.
week.
We talked about the Dwixty for like 20 minutes at the beginning of this podcast. Let's let Kevin's list shine here.
That's right. It's got the fast call Dragonite, the one that searches supporters. You know, people have kind of moved off of that one, you know, like we're talking about with Dwixty, because for the Dragonair to work, you need an energy on it, and the fast call Dragonite's attack is not that great. But Kevin opting to play fast call anyways, and back in early GLC, fast call was like the way to play Dragon. I really liked playing fast call. I mean, I love playing Gallade, so very similar. We're also seeing the Ultra Necrozma make a comeback, which has not been in a lot of Dragon lists these days, but very efficient attacker. Does 170 damage for only 2 energy, so that's 1 attachment. But you have to have early game, you have to have Silent Lab down because its ability prevents it from attacking until your opponent has 2 or fewer prizes. And we also got the Berserk Drampaw, another one that kind of fell by the wayside recently in the Turbo Blaze Dragon builds. Now they play the Dragon Arcana Drampaw, but Kevin took it back to its roots with some new cards that have been added since the early days of GLC, and yeah, impressive run from Kevin. I like the ideas behind it. I think Garchomp's really strong. Fast Call Dragonite really strong. Yeah, what do you guys think?
One of the what I think, I don't know if it's like the only reason, but like one of the reasons I know that the other Drampa is chosen is because it has that it's the Dragon Claw attack that enables the Dragonium Z. So now that we've got the Rayquaza in there, like people are a little bit more free to go back to the other Drampa that has a more efficient attack, doing 150 damage if any of your bench Pokemon have damage on it. So you've got like the Team Magma Secret Base and the Rainbow Energy here to like ping the damage on the bench. So it's like a more efficient attacker than the other one. Whereas you have the Rayquaza to use the utility of the Dragonium Z somewhere else. So that's really cool. Something that you can do now that with a newer card, kind of enabling an older card to be able to be used in lists.
Yeah, that's right. And shout out to the Team Magma Secret Base Stadium, which also allows that damage to, get your damage on your board for that Drampaw's bonus damage. For the viewer, though, if you're going to play an optimal stadium there, it would be the Risky Ruins as opposed to the Team Magma Secret Base. But Kevin being an old head, this is probably just the one he had.
Gotta play the Unk card.
That's right. But yeah, shout out Kevin. If I was to pick up Dragon and try it in the coming weeks, I'd probably want to build this one. Seems like I just like new builds. So props to Kevin for taking it so far. Very impressive run. Unfortunate to miss out on top 8, but yeah, congrats to Kevin. And next up, in 12th place, right behind Kevin, this is the highest placing water deck. We've got Consiglio Roselli's, I don't know what he's calling it. It's like low tide, low fi water, but with some twists.
Lost zone, low energy water.
Exactly, yeah. So basically the name of the game is just the most efficient attackers that water has to offer. With some special tricks in there. I played against Consiglio in round 3. And he was able to beat me. And yeah, very impressive run. Only lost out to top 8 in the final Swiss round on stream, losing to Ethan Whitney's grass control deck, Terraplume. And if you watch that match back, I think Consiglio just had a rough start under item lock and I don't even know if he took any prizes. Maybe one prize. That was like how strong the lock was from the early game. So unfortunate end to a great run. Yeah, just want to call out some interesting cards here. We've got the Empoleon, which has the emergency surfacing ability. I'm gonna pull up it on PKMN cards so we can all
I'll
read
preview
it.
there for our viewers on what's coming soon.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Consiglio playing the emergency surfacing Empoleon, which says if it's in your discard pile and your hand is empty, you can bring it into play from the discard pile and draw 3 cards. It also has a snipe attack of 60 damage for 1 energy, so kind of an efficient attacker, synergizing with some of the other damage ping stuff Consiglio has going on, as well as basically a get out of jail card because he runs so many item cards in the deck. He did use Empoleon against me to fill his hand back up, and it was very helpful for him. And it's similar to like Giratina. It's an easy discard off of Parallel City that you can then reutilize from the discard. You've got the what is it? The Battle Compressor to get it into the discard pile to make that combo happen as well. You've got the Peony, so you can Peony for like 2 specific, item cards you want, and then you don't have to like find a search card off the Peony. You can just use the Empoleon to then draw up to 3. So a lot of really cool synergies in Consiglio's lists. What are some other ones you guys want to point out?
The Rocket's bomb is something that definitely sticks out to me. It's got 2 Starmies. I was watching the end of your game, and I just saw the 1 Starmie in play, but then I saw Consiglio use the Nessa to get another Starmie, the Misty Starmie, out of the discard pile, and I was like, "What? This deck has 2 Starmies in it?" So, yeah, the Misty Starmie hitting for 140 damage if it evolved that turn, but the other one, it can discard itself and then put 2 damage counters on the board. You've also got the Rocket's Bomb that I just mentioned, that if you flip a hedge, you can put 2 damage on their board. And then it's just cool, like that racks up, especially, and then the Empoleon can be sniping things. And Teleon has a little bit of snipe that can clean things up. So it's like a lot of things that can just set up for like a 2 prize turn. We've talked a lot about that. A lot of decks need a way to take a 2-for-1 prize turn. And so that's kind of the way that this lo-fi water deck facilitates that.
Yeah, I think he wanted to especially into the Natu blindside decks, like there's extremely sneaky ways you can catch your opponent off guard because Natu only has 40 HP. So if you hit heads on a rocket bomb and then ping it with Starmie, you can take it out early. Got the Lost City in there as well to completely get rid of it and negate a 2 prize turn from your opponent. So I think it's very specifically built to target stuff like Natu, while at the same time, softening up, being able to soften up some of the bigger guys that, because this deck is kind of damage capped, depending on who you're attacking with. Like Misty Starmie is your strongest attacker that does 140, but it only does that for 1 turn. So if your opponent doesn't knock out the Misty Starmie, it goes around it, then, Palafin's your next best at 130, and then you're at 120 and 110 with Cramorant. So you kind of need these extra damage pings to keep up if needed. So you've got the Hypnotoxic Laser there as well to get some poison damage, maybe buy a turn with Sleep, and Pokestop to just go fast. But yeah, really, really cool deck, and happy to see Consiglio do well with it.
I kind of just want to shout out the kind of the building philosophy behind the deck. I think it's so cool that a lot of times when you're showing up to locals, it can, and I've seen people complain about how stale the format is and fighting psychic, they're so OP, but this deck is 1 win off of Top Cut at a 100-player tournament, and just look how unique it is. So it's there seems like there's always room to cook. If you see a card you think is good, don't presume just because it's not being played that it's bad. Put it in a deck and try it out. I would have never thought that a Cramorant would find a place in a water deck, but I look at the way this list is built and I'm like, that seems actually pretty decent. Damage fix with the Starmie and the laser and the bomb. I don't know. I just think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's one you have to think a lot about what specific numbers you want to hit in the meta, and yeah, he built it very streamlined. I think to kind of get exactly what you need to carry yourself through these games. So, congrats to
Shout out Council Goo.
yeah, shout out Council Goo. Well done. Very impressive run. Right behind Consiglio, we've got Michael Greer, 13th place with, I hate to say it, a Lost Zone Psychic deck.
What tier do we have this
Yeah,
in?
what tier?
Proving us wrong. Did it make it to F? I don't.
No,
Was it bottom?
I don't think
C?
no.
It was
wasn't
like
quite
B
F.
or C. Like it was probably C.
Yeah.
Crazy. I'm a Lost Zone hater. As most
Listen,
of you
bro.
know by
Purple
now.
cards are OP.
Purple is OP. 5-2. Another case of being one win away from making top 8. I unfortunately don't know, what people's matchups were throughout the day. So I would be curious to see how like the deck played out throughout the day and like what matchups it was hitting. But obviously it's got some legs. So shout out Michael for taking it all the way. If you don't know, it's a psychic deck that's focused on, kind of getting to 10 cards in your own Lost Zone as fast as possible to utilize Sableye Lost Mine attack. And this is a bit different than other Lost Zone decks I have seen in the past. It's playing Mysterious Tail Mew as opposed to the Memories of Dawn Mew. I know a lot of people would before play the Memories of Dawn Mew, so you can have 2 Pokemon that can use Lost Mine since it copies the attacks of your benched Pokemon. But opting for the consistency of Mysterious Tail Mew instead. And it looks like it's just kind of going for all power. There's no bench barrier, no Mimikyu to copy attacks or anything like that. It's just like saying, I want to get 10 in the Lost Zone as fast as possible. It does have Cresselia to counter like other spread decks because all your guys are so small that you do kind of fold to it. But I mean, yeah, shout out to Michael. Telepath Energy probably a big help in the meta as well for Lost Zone Psychic.
Yeah.
But
I have to imagine that this deck might have actually a pretty good matchup into the Not Too Blindside deck. Because you might be able to just like spam damage counters on their support guys faster than they can do it to you.
Yeah.
And you get to like pick and choose like when you want to take knockouts and stuff. And
this is true. I mean, Blacephalon does kind of destroy you, but if you can avoid the Blacephalon turn with Lost Mine,
just skip the Blacephalon turn.
Yeah. I mean, the one concern is that if they get Monkey Dory in play early enough that they can take multiple prizes pretty easily. I don't know. Maybe I gotta eat my words, I guess. Maybe Lost.
We were both there with you.
Yeah, maybe Lost Zone is not dead.
No, it's dead. Shout out Michael Greer though.
Shout out Michael Greer, but it's dead. No, I'm just kidding. Good job, Michael. But then I want to shout out Ethan Angelini in 19th place.
Latios?
He's got the Latios. Ethan is a full grip local as well. And this is one of those no sauce, quote unquote, no sauce psychic decks you've heard about. It's just Gallade, Xatu, Malamar, and some of the best attackers Psychic has to offer that don't take multiple prizes, right? So that's what I mean by no sauce. But yeah, Ethan, 19th place, taking it to a 5-2 finish. Again, 1 win away from making top 8. Tony, tell us about the Latios and why play the Latios?
It's just like a statted card. Like, doesn't have a lot of HP. It's got 110. It's got 1 retreat, but it swings for 180 damage. Okay? You know, bro, every time I try to describe the Latios, people are always knocking me, thinking it's bad. But I'm glad that it got its showing here. I just think that like in like a no sauce list where you get to play Xatu and Malamar, like I feel like that card is probably better than like playing Necrozma. And I would consider playing it over Necrozma on other decks, but like you can't really play it in like the Dwixie because you only have Malamar. And it just feels like a insane card that other types would love to have, but just because there's so like an abundance of strong purple cards, 180 for 3 and discard all energy doesn't make the cut a lot of times.
Shouts out to the TM Evo in this deck. This is a card that when I was early on, when we were just talking about Psychic in general, not necessarily like a specific list, I hadn't personally played with like a TM Evo in a Psychic list before, and I was kind of pushing for our group to consider it. And I got a lot of saying like, no, like you never find it, you can never get it set up, and then also just like in a deck that like only really has you have the Gallade, but like your consistency and your acceleration guys are like all stage ones that you can just manually evolve into for the next turn. Like you're not really boosting up to a really powerful stage two, like in like grass and water decks or something like that. But it really does just that instant setup is really valuable. Like it's like, okay, I don't have to go find my Curlia, Zatu, Malamar the next turn. I just evoed into them and my board is fully set up and ready for this next turn. So especially with the new Psychic Energy, it's definitely like that combo is so powerful. Your Goose Hala, just creating an instant board setup, telepathing for your basics, and then evolving right into them with the TM Evo. So shout out Ethan for finding use in that tool card.
Shout out Ethan. Well done on the placement. No Sauce Psychic is alive. All right, and then we've got the highest placing colorless deck from Nolan Frieda, who was a top 8 finisher at a previous 3K with a Hydro Pump deck. This time playing the Harambe variant of colorless. So this was the best finish for a colorless deck at the 3K at 24th place, 4 wins and 3 losses. Yeah, seems like the same good old Harambe decks we've seen and talked about a lot on the podcast. Yeah, I'm not noticing any specific cards that stand out as
See
different.
anything?
The good old classic
Crazy.
Harambe deck, it looks like.
Yeah, good old classic.
Is that a Malo?
Yeah, but
in the
they
deck?
normally play Cypher, so it's one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like run of the mill. Classic Harambe, strong deck.
Yeah, got the Swellow, got the Crisis Punch. Double, of course. So yeah, good stuff to Nolan on being the best performing colorless deck. Not much else to say. Does this prove that it's the best colorless deck still? Maybe the strongest one in the current meta.
Nobody was brave enough to play Diggersby.
That's true. Actually, we didn't look at every colorless deck. I can't say that nobody played it.
Okay, that's true.
Let us know if you played Diggersby to the 3K. We got to look at that list.
Yeah, I did not click all 100 decks.
I was going to say, we've gone through a lot of the lists, but not quite all 100.
Yeah, but shout out Nolan. Classic Harambe. Great player. Michael freaking Prieto, bro.
Shout out Michael Prieto.
Shout out Michael.
The Grass Master.
This is the highest placing grass deck that is not terrible. This is the next highest placing grass deck that's not Terra Plume. Which I think it's just Ethan at 3rd place, and then Michael is the next grass deck. I know Luna also played Terra Plume and is right behind Michael in placement, the same record. But yeah, just wanted to shout out a different version of grass that's not control oriented. So just your classic attacking grass deck that Michael was able to take to a 4-3 finish, 31st place, playing that Executor that Kai got top 4 with at Full Grip a couple weeks ago. This is very similar, I think, to the deck Kai was running. It's and obviously Michael's been cooking as well. I'm not familiar with their differences in the list, so I apologize, Michael. But got the Cricketune for bonus HP. That helps with going into things like Blacephalon, because then they have to target the Cricketune basically to get around the bonus HP for extra prizes. But you've got the Cherim Eldegoss combo to accelerate energy. Got Torterra, of course, and then you've got that Executor, which is basically like a Hydro Pump style attacker in grass. But yeah, very strong.
Is that Executor 140 HP?
I believe so.
So like getting to 180 is really cool. Like that's your big Hydro Pump guy. You got a lot of energy on him. You want him to survive so he can do another attack without having to recover all that. So yeah, 140 the Cricketune buffing that to 180 gets that over that magic, 170 of the Ogie Dogie and
Right.
the
Iron
boulder there.
Boulder.
So that's a really good number to be out there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm liking the list, Michael. Got the Lux Cape in
Shout
there
out.
and the pot helmet as well, in tandem with the new growing energy, which also boosts HP. So you can get plus 60
Oh, yeah.
HP, plus 160 HP if you got the Lux Cape growing and Cricketune in play. That's a big Torterra or a big Exeggutor. So, yeah, very, very impressive run, Michael. Well done.
Shout out to the separated grass energies for
Yep.
our viewers looking. You got six secret rare and then 2 e-reader energies.
Yeah.
They're
E-readers
the
are
same
sick.
card in effect, but it's funny
Yeah.
that Limitless makes you separate them.
Yeah. I wonder if Michael just was very specific in the artwork he played.
I bet he was. Michael, Grass's strongest soldier, always blings out his decks. So
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if he was very, very particular.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well done, Michael. All right. This is the second highest place in Water Deck. I did want to highlight it. It is a more traditional Hydro Pump build. Well, I was gonna say more traditional, but it's not.
Got some tricks in here.
It's a Hydro Pump build, but it is from William Brum, 33rd place at 4-3 record, and it is kind of similar to, we talked about Chucky Davis's list on the vlog. I posted it because I interviewed Chucky, but he played a Whale Lord Frostmoth deck that had Articuno in it, and this is kind of similar to it, but is going harder into Articuno, where Chucky just kind of tossed in Articuno as a way to surprise people with extra prizes by just using Articuno's attack. This is going harder into taking 2 prizes with Articuno by including the blind side and that mysterious comet Starmie to ping damage on your opponent's bench to allow the blind side combo to happen. So interesting that the top 2 water decks played mysterious comet Starmie.
Army stunts are going up.
For different reasons too, which is cool.
Very different reasons. But Articuno, a way to cheat prizes. Again, Consiglio had a way to cheat prizes as well, that we talked about, and just the different ways to ping. But does water need these extra tricks to keep up in the current meta? Is that kind of the direction we're going with water? Just needing these ways to skip Blacephalon turns, or just catch up in the prize trade or close out a game. But yeah, I really like how this list looks. I like the idea of Articuno and playing the Starmie to get some blindside plays off. And then of course you've always got Old Faithful, Whale Lord, and Wishy Washy to tank some hits. Yeah, seems pretty good. Got the Mallow and Lana in there as well.
I like the theory behind this list, like you were saying.
Yeah,
it does seem like water does genuinely need the tricks to answer a Blacephalon turn or a blindside turn from the Natu deck. So
yeah,
I think that this is a good innovation.
Yeah, if you like classic Hydro Pump, but you're trying to innovate it a little bit, maybe give this one a spin.
Yeah, the shell of this really is just Milo,
Milo
Pump.
Pump, yeah.
But it's like Milo Pump cut for the Starmie. So is it like Starmie Pump?
Yeah, Starmie Pump.
Star Pump?
Star Pump.
Star Pump.
Star Moth.
New archetype.
Yeah, I mean that's basically
from William.
talking to Chucky. That's what his idea was like it was Milo Pump shell, but cut the Milo Pump because it's kind of a liability with the 30 HP Phoebus, and just toss in Articuno to maybe get some extra prizes. But this one, obviously building more into the extra prize mechanic with the Starmie and Articuno. So, and obviously to a decent, respectable 4-3 finish. So congrats, William. Yeah, interested to see how water continues to develop in the future. All right, then at 41st place, we've got Clayton Garofalo, who I believe is Venom in the Discord, runs a lot of webcam tournaments, so shout out Venom. Chatted with him a lot on the weekend and was a pleasure to hang out with. But he was telling me about the brew he brought, which was a Garbodor, like a Garbo box build, but sneaking in a Dusknor in there with the shopping center. So, it's a combo that I've like, thought of, but have never been brave enough to try. Um, but I think the potential is really the power potential is really there with these kinds of combos.
The theory is there.
Absolutely. He took it to 3-3-1. And so, I mean, with Shopping Center, Garbodor, you can shut off your opponent's abilities, lock them down, slowly evolve up your own Dusknor, and then, on your turn, Shopping Center, turn the abilities back on, blow up a key piece with Dusknor, and then lock abilities again. I think could honestly be a really strong way for Dusknor or for Garbodor to keep up with Psychic decks, because if you're shutting off, like, you kind of want to target their attackers with Garbodor and hope that the ability lock will prevent them from like powering up the next attacker. So if you can knock out like 2 of their guys with energy in the Psychic Mirror, between the Dusknor and your own attacker while locking the Xatu Malamar abilities, I could definitely see that as a way to, really take hold of the game. So really cool creative deck here. And you've got the Blacephalon as well, which you can activate yourself with your own Dusknor, giving up prizes. So
Sick list. I like the idea.
All right, next up we got Ron O'Malley on the highest placing dark list of the event. Got some evolution guys in there, and the Crobat line we've talked about a little bit before. Some additional draw for dark to be able to draw cards outside of that Liepard. So we got the Liepard and the Crobat as the draw engine. And then that Toxtricity, really just trying to power up the Guzzlord and your basic attackers there. And just a lot of cards to enable that. You see a lot of, like, the Guzzlord has got the Beast Ring to go with it, the Dark Patch, that just ways to power up your Guzzlord to get him attacking. That's kind of the main guy in this list. You've got the Galarian Moltres as a sweeper for the end of the game, Hoopa for some early pressure, Spiritomb as well. And then we've also got the Rockets Murkrow, seems to be kind of the standout card sneaking in here. Ben, can you pull that one up? Because I don't exactly know the attack. I think the Deceit is the first attack, and I believe this one is like a Torment. Oh no! Oh, this is the Search for a Supporter. Yeah, Search for a Supporter.
And then it has Disable as well, or Torment. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's got Deceit to search for a supporter card in the early game to get going. Then it's also got a Torment attack, that 30 damage, shutting off an opponent's attack. So able to get you into the game and slow down the game a little bit, so that you kind of do some cool things, some control-y things with this dark deck for sure.
Yeah, I like that inclusion as just like an extra consistency piece early game, help you get into the game. Yeah, I mean, pretty, other than that, like pretty standard dark deck that we would expect, one that really wants to power up Guzzlord and loop Spiritomb with the Hustle Belt and things like that. Got the Pokestop as well to kind of have a little burst potential. So yeah, this deck is trying to go quick and hopefully get a little lucky on the Pokestops, I'd bet. Ron, and this is the highest placing dark deck at 45th place with a record of 3-4. So both congrats to Ron, and also, a little sad to see that Dark was unable to perform, better than this at the 3K. I predicted one to get top 8, but it was not.
It's okay. John predicted a Lightning, and then nobody was even brave enough to play Lightning. So
never gonna let him live that down.
No, yeah. Come on, where are my Lightning heads? I need you the next 3K. All right,
the next
please,
3K.
Please.
Nah, there's gonna be even fewer Lightning. There's gonna be negative Lightning now that Psychic's getting a little nerf. Fighting. You walk in and
they take the Lightning cards out of your backpack.
Anyways, congrats, Ron, on being the Dark's strongest soldier. Tony?
We got, let me pull this up real quick. We have Terran Disher. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. This is the only played fairy deck and also the highest placing fairy deck. I actually had the pleasure to play against Terran in round 3. And yeah, we've got pretty much every semi-playable card that is pink here. Um, yeah, we've got like the attackers in this deck. I think your best one is the Gardevoir, which is correct me if I'm wrong, 70 plus 70 if you play a supporter. So it's the colorless Cyclozar's attack, I believe,
On a
on a
stage
stage
2.
two.
Yep.
Yeah.
We love it. I need to say.
And yeah, let's pull this up real quick. There it
Boom.
is right there.
Sensitive
Yep.
ray.
Sensitive ray, 70 plus
160.
70 if you
160.
Oh, it's 160.
70 plus
So it's
90.
better. So it's better than the Cyclozar.
It's so
but
good.
it is a stage 2.
It's so good.
Yeah. Other than that, you've got the Copycat Mimikyu, which is just a direct pink version of the Psychic Mimikyu.
Yep.
You've got the Clefable, which does 10 plus 30 for each I almost said Psychic Energy, whoa. For each fairy energy attached to all of your Pokemon. And if you're listening to this thinking, wow, these don't actually sound that great, it's because it's not. This is just all that fairy literally has to work with.
Yo, that Diancie's got a built-in TM Evo. That's crazy.
That Diancie does have a built-in TM Evo. And we got the Togekiss pulled up on screen now. This is the energy acceleration that fairy has to work with. When you put it into play, you look at the top 8 of your deck, I believe, and attach any number of fairy energy that you find there to your Pokemon. And the deck gets cute, plays like Devo Spray, plays both of the Devo Spray Z, and regular Devo Spray to try to loop that.
14 basic energy in the deck.
14 basic energy and a Wishful Baton.
You're just trying to pump energy into play.
Yeah. I do want to say that it was really cool for me to see the Tasting Slurpuff, which has, if anybody's familiar with Standard, Golden Go's ability. If you're in the active, you draw 2, and if you're on the bench, you draw 1. This was a card that I played a ton back when I was a kid playing Standard in the XY days. I was a big fan of this card in my Seismitoad EX deck, so it was really cool to see that being sleeved up again and getting Tasting announced against me.
Beast mode. Nice. Well, Terran, respect for
Big
playing
respect.
Fairy, sticking to it, and getting those 2 wins under your belt. Yeah. Run it back next time, and I'd love to see some more Fairy representation at the future 3Ks. Yeah, had to highlight the lone fairy deck, the bravest lone fairy deck there is ever.
No
been.
lightnings, but there was a fairy. How insane is that?
That is crazy. Oh man, yeah, congrats, Taryn. Next up, we've got Frank Massey, who played a really creative psychic control deck that a lot of people were talking about in the room. I heard a lot of people being like, "Oh my god!" Like, also Frank's deck was only in Japanese, so we were joking like a lot of these cards. Who, a lot of people won't know what a lot of these Pokemon do because I've never seen anybody use them, right? And then they're all in Japanese. So we were just joking, like if Frank attacks with Poltegeist or Grievard, you just have to take his word for it that it does what it does.
Just trust me, bro.
Yeah, trust me,
I think
bro.
Ashton played against him round 1.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, our friend Ashton, who made top 8, played against him round 1, and he was saying that he was like, I have no idea what any of the cards do.
Literally,
like, just gotta take his word for it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's just a joke. Like Frank was always like,
yeah,
we can call a judge anytime. Yeah, he's super chill about it. But yeah, going for a control strategy with the Garbodor, Garbotoxin to shut off abilities, and then you have Grievard and the Houndstone line. Both of those cards are item recursion in their attacks, and then the Poltegeist. Let me look up what the Poltegeist does because I don't even know.
That one's a supporter recursion.
So you have different ways to loop your resources in this psychic control deck. Is it this one? Yep.
It's the first one.
Yeah, antique collecting.
Antique collecting, put up to 2 in any combination of item cards and Pokemon tool cards from your discard pile into your hand. This is not a supporter recursion card.
Is the Houndstone?
No, Houndstone is item recursion.
One of them's supporters. It's the Spiritomb. The Spiritomb is supporter recovery. Sorry.
Yeah.
Spiritomb.
Yeah, Spiritomb is retreat lock on a basic Pokemon, and also the first attack recovers 2 supporters.
Nice. So a
Yes.
lot of flexible recovery attackers in the deck. I'm liking what it's going on. It's got the Giraffe Rig, the one that got second place in Nathaniel's
Get
deck.
lost.
The Get Lost Giraffe Rig. And then you play a lot of, lock cards. You've got the Tool Jammer. You've got Belelba and Bryson Man. You've got 06 Machinations. What is that? How is
Mhm.
it? Yeah.
Machinations, yes.
06 Machinations to mill your opponent's hand. You
I
got
saw the
Galar
Roto
Mine as
Stick,
well.
and I was like, huh, that's a little weird and unique. But then I counted the supporters, and there are 18 supporter cards in this deck. So
You're going
the
heavy on the
chances that you're going to
supporters.
hit a couple of supporters off that is pretty darn good.
That's right. I think the idea is hopefully just lock your opponent in the active, and just start milling and lost zoning key cards. It's got the Hypno as well. Let's take a look at the Hypno. There's a
Hypno's
wall of
weird,
text.
Man. Hypno's got weird stuff going on with it usually.
The hand control Hypno says, for 1 psychic energy, your opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a supporter card you find there. If you do, you can force your opponent to play the supporter card, and you get to make the decisions. So, I mean, one example of that is if your opponent has Professor's Research in their hand, you can force them to use it and discard their whole hand. And something if you force them to waste their Guzma, you get to choose which Pokemon you switch in and they switch in. So kind of a fun way to like have your opponent waste their resources in interesting ways. So a lot going on with the deck. Unfortunately did not perform the best on the day, was 79th place, 121, but such a fun idea and combo of cards that we just wanted to show it off. So shout out Frank.
I'll say it again. I like the word of the day, theory. I like the theory of the deck.
Creativity is alive and well.
The creativity, yeah.
Fun things. And that is the last deck on our list of things to highlight tonight. But yeah, no, it's great to highlight all those fun decks and to see them all out in the field at the 3K. And, hopefully we can continue to do this at the future 3Ks. I think the digital deck list submission was a huge help to have these all in one place. If they were all on paper, we'd never see these. These would never see the light of day again. So shout out Full Grip Games again for just giving us this resource. I will make just so everyone can have access to these, I'll probably do like a little Twitter thread of all the deck lists we shared, just so that in perpetuity they're linked there for you guys to look at. So take a look at the description to get a link to those deck lists for you to save, as opposed to coming back to the video constantly. Shout out Full Group Games, shout out Perfect Order, shout out Tony, shout out John, shout out Tyler Price. Tyler Price.
Shout out Tyler Price.
Tyler
Shout
Price.
out
Shout out the Dwixty.
Shout out the Dwixty. One actual shout out is Turbo Blaze posted a video with an interview with the winner of the 3K, Winter. So if you're interested in hearing Winter's thoughts on the deck that Winter won with and the matchups and things like that, go check out Turbo Blaze YouTube channel for that type of content. And that's gonna just about do it for our episode 12 of the Gym Leader Challenge podcast. Please leave a like, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, leave a review on Spotify if you're listening. Only got 3 reviews so far, so let's boost those numbers, team.
Boost them. Hey, buy a playmat while you're at it. Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
What the heck? Buy a playmat.
Just
I
buy
don't know.
some stuff.
Become a channel member. Why not?
What, you broke or something? Just buy a playmat.
That is it anyway for our Perfect Order 3K content. Or is it? Find out next time. We will GLC it next time.